Well, the families and friends of fallen heroes will never forget the impact their loved ones made serving this country, and they hope you won't forget either. That's why today San Antonians came together to help honor the legacy of a Texan killed in action. Eyewitness News reporter Erica Zucco has that story.
This street took David James Todd Jr. where he needed to go while growing up in San Antonio.
He was a Texan all the way. He was a barbecue, he could barbecue, he's like most Texans, very independent.
Independent, but devoted to his community. His road led him to serving his country, starting at age 19.
He won a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star and a successful rescue of 12 Army soldiers in Afghanistan.
He trained recruits and, according to friends in his unit, was running toward gunfire when he was killed.
This soldier, this son, this brother, husband, father, son of America, son of San Antonio, and son of Texas.
10 years later, his loved ones, city leaders, and national nonprofit Bridges for the Fallen are making sure he leaves a legacy anyone who heads down the path he once took will see.
With a larger mission of making sure that these heroes are never forgotten.
This bridge is no longer the bridge on Jones Maltzberger. It's the Sergeant First Class David James Todd Jr. Memorial Bridge. And the ones who knew him best say there's no honor more fitting.
To me, it represents what my son was all about. He was a bridge. In fact, he took young college students and made them military officers. He took young recruits and made them warriors. It was a bridge. He helped those 12 soldiers return to safety from they were being ambushed by the Taliban. So the bridge is a good symbol for my son.
A hero who kept each drive or walk down this bridge possible for the rest of us. Erica Zucco, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.